What's up, people? You are listening to TV, Film, and Us, the podcast where we talk about TV, film, and everything in between with your host, Rixxe
Conz Carvel.
And today we are talking about
Untold, the girlfriend who didn't exist on
Dun, dun,
Netflix.
dun. Take it away, Cons.
Before we get into it, how you doing? How you been?
I am really feeling the effects of being over 30. I'm saying this like, well, obviously, you know my birthday is.
You are old.
Wow,
You are
I'm
old.
2 days older than you. But you know, I'm just really tired today, I think. I've been on earlies, and so I'm ready to just like relax. I've got a few days off. This is basically my weekend, so yeah. But
Lucky for some.
no one needs to hear about how I'm a granny. So how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Been getting my exercise on. Been doing a lot of trying to get my steps up because when I am working from home, which is majority of the time now, I'm not really like getting out and about. So I have no choice because I hate the gym. So it's either walk or stay home and get fat.
Have you? I know what I prefer. Have you got like a step limit? Like how many? Sorry, like
Yeah, do you know
a
what? Yeah,
minimum that you
I
got to
don't
do
even
a
want to
day?
admit. I don't want to admit how low my limit is. I
Wow.
count,
Okay. Okay. No, actually,
but
let me not judge. Let me not judge. No, it was a safe space here.
okay,
Okay.
cool. So I'm easing myself in. I'm easing myself in with about 8,000, 9,000, ten
Okay.
thousand. Then I'll increase.
That's not bad. I think the minimum is 10,000 a day.
Yeah. I'm starting off with about 8, 9. All right. So let's get into it. Untold, the girlfriend who didn't exist. And this is the sixth film in the series Untold. It's a documentary series on Netflix. And the story centers around Manti Te'o. He is the next big thing in college football, American football. Like, he's huge. From the introduction, you've got news outlets such as Fox News and ESPN and Good Morning America talking about how great he is. And then on the flip side, a couple seconds later, they're literally saying he's this like liar. He's lied. And what has he lied about? The fact that his girlfriend did not exist.
Sucks to be him.
So
Can you
it
imagine
is a
the shame?
story
Oh.
of extreme catfishing, and they go from thinking he's the greatest thing in American football to thinking he's a damn right liar.
You know what? Yeah. Firstly, I thought, thank goodness that I'm a no one of like that level of kind of public. Like no one in the public knows who I am, basically, because I die of shame anyway. Like I just think how embarrassing. I'm so sorry, but how embarrassing to be mourning for a person that literally doesn't exist. Like I just think mentally that must really mess you up and emotionally as well. Because me personally, I wouldn't have made it to the NFL because I would have been in prison because I would have hunted you down and
Wow.
you know.
Violence.
I'm sorry. No, do you know why? Yeah, I'll tell you why. Yeah, this is specifically because like during the pandemic, I really got into like basketball. And I started really getting into like the drafts and how they pick players, blah blah blah. Now the NFL have like 7 drafts, so like 7 rounds of drafts.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're like a top, you know, sort of pick, you know, the first draft, especially top 10, which is what Manti Te'o was before this kind of scandal, you're looking at earning like, you know, anything between, depending on where you are, $7 to sort of $20 million. Like,
Jeez.
and you know, he was like if you read some of the news articles from that time, they're kind of putting him in at least the top 5. So he's looking at earning like 12 million, whatever. He ended up being a second round draft pick, which money goes down to 2 million already. And don't get me wrong, that's still a massive achievement. But when you think about the millions that he could have earned and didn't because of one person's decision to just lie and lie and lie and lie, yeah, I'm gonna come for you. I'm so sorry because you've lost. I mean, yes, he had a career in football, and you know, he only, I think he only retired like 2 years ago. But that's not the point. You've embarrassed me on the national stage, had me looking crazy, and anyway, this person gets on my nerves. But you know,
Yeah, from the jump. So when they start the documentary and you read on screen, it says people did not know that Renaya, who is the person that catfished Manti Te'o, was identifies as a trans woman now. And the first thing we see in the documentary is her talking about, I haven't been able to get a job because people remember me as the catfish. I'm thinking, okay,
literally.
but Manti Te'o's career, you know, like immediately I'm just seeing selfish, and she did a lot of unforgivable things, like evil things.
Evil is the word.
Incredibly manipulative. So what happened in the documentary, she sets up a Facebook profile. She felt more comfortable as identifying as someone called Lene. That's the profile she set up. And she becomes friends with Mantateo on Facebook, and they're forming this online relationship. And he's getting quite a few scholarship offers, and he goes to Notre Dame, and they're getting very close. His senior year, he loses his grandma. No, even before that. Wait, I'm getting too far ahead. Before the senior year, he's almost like a mini celebrity at this point, and he can no longer like text back and communicate with her, but she can see that he's got time to communicate with other people. And she gets her cousin. No, she doesn't even get her cousin. She puts a voice. No, she probably uses her own voice and says
Yeah,
that.
because I think in the documentary they show her like behind the screen putting on this voice to
Yeah,
like show that when he was talking to her, he was talking to her, but obviously everything else was fake.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I think the
And that
little
was even with
sign or
Dr. Phil.
something.
That's how you know this really got escalated. Yeah, so then she calls him one night and says that she has been in a car crash. So he's thinking, like, the love of my life is in intensive care. And then she's
Is
pretending to
it
talk.
her that calls him though, or someone?
I can't remember whether she calls him using the voice that she was born with before she identified as Renea slash Lene. I can't remember whether she actually got someone to do it. He thinks his girlfriend is in intensive care, about to die. He's talking to her, she's on the ventilator, and she's taking all these deep breaths. Another thing that she did during the midst of all this is pretend that she has leukemia.
I mean, at this point, she's done so much weird things. This is just the next level up, really. Like she's just pretending to even have a car crash, like and acting like you're injured, like that. Just psychologically, that just takes a lot out of a person. Because I always think like when you're sitting there lying, do you not feel embarrassed about the fact that you're doing this? Like I know that maybe the person you're lying to doesn't know, but you know you're lying. So like, why doesn't I just don't get it? Anyway.
It's just like one extreme to another, and she goes on so much about how she cared about him. No, you didn't, because you never put someone through that hurt. And I remember him saying he lost both of his grandfathers to leukemia. I believe it was both his grandfathers to leukemia. So he's already lost people through that, and now you're just pretending to have it. Like, firstly, who lies about that sort of sickness anyway? There's a lot of his family very skeptical about Linnea, she calls himself, especially his dad. And his dad's a very stern man. Question him, saying like we haven't seen it. Have you actually seen her in person? They're like, no, we
But
talk.
this is what
This
I'm
is what
trying
we
to
do.
say. Like, I
We,
don't get getting into a relationship with the person you've never met before. Like, like it's hard to judge this now because obviously we're adults and we got to think that this was like, you know, 10, 11 years ago, and you think that's like 2011, 2012, which is the same time that the Catfish show started on MTV. So obviously this was kind of like the lengths at which somebody was going to pretend to be other people online. Obviously it was kind of like, I wouldn't say in its infancy because people have been pretending to be people forever. But obviously the internet gave people a new
yeah,
tool to do that. But I'm not getting into a relationship with you. I literally don't know you. Talking to you on a phone is not enough for me. Like I feel like I've always said, yeah, I felt like South London to North London was long distance. I need to see somebody. I need to meet up with you. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like to me, I can't talk to you
yeah.
and tell you things like when I've never met you because you're just a stranger to me. You might as well be a helpline at this point because like it doesn't make
And
sense to me. I don't get it. I really don't.
these are the only times I'm really questioning him. Like, did you not think at any point? I get that he said the word catfishing didn't exist and people verify through word of mouth, but like he would try and FaceTime her, and then she would say, "Oh, I can't see, my connection's poor." You get into a relationship with
Yeah,
someone that you've never physically seen. Like, how do you do that? Like,
it's just wild. But I guess like no, I still don't get the relationship side of stuff. But I get well, it's not that he obviously had suspicions because some of the things he's saying, like, oh, if it's this proof, write me a note with this on it and blah, blah, blah. So on some level, there must have been something niggling for him to kind of request certain things. And I guess Renaya was kind of, I think I read somewhere there was like another football player who was a couple years older who had said that they'd met Renaya, because I think Renaya had a female
Right.
friend who maybe was, it was all a bit weird, but I think there was a lot of obviously manipulation and deceit, but I think the levels at which this person went to deceive people is insane, because usually, you know, when someone adds you on Facebook or social media or whatever, you know, you
Yeah.
check like, who is this person, mutual friends. I think obviously like 10, 20 years ago, well, not 20 years ago, because like, what even was Facebook, but like, obviously, you know, if you did have mutual friends, sometimes that really was enough. But what you realize quickly is that you can make an account, add loads of people that know people, and suddenly you've got 20 mutual friends with a completely, like, either a person that doesn't exist or literally a stranger. And it's like, well, that's fine. I don't know you, so I can keep that to the.
And
You don't
that's
have
what
to
she
actually
did.
be
And then
Facebook
she
friends.
also created family. So she created cousins, brothers, sisters to make it look authentic. It's just, the whole thing's really embarrassing. The leukemia was one thing, but then she took it 10 steps further when Mantanteo is now again just really high point in his career, and sadly he loses his grandmother. And on the exact same day, this woman decides to call up and basically, no, not even basically, fake her own death. Like,
I
literally,
don't know
she
why she's
faked
not
her
in prison.
own.
I'm so confused. Like, literally, like, what do you? And you know what's
She,
cold? Like, it's the same day you know he's grieving. What a horrible thing to
yeah.
do. And she's justifying like, I knew I had to end it. You know, you could just tell the truth.
Just, it was all about her. She is very unsympathetic.
I mean, that's one way of putting it. I would call
Maybe,
her, you know, a witch.
maybe she's changed. This documentary was filmed last
Forget
year.
the
Maybe
money.
she's a
You
changed
still
woman
ruined
now.
his
But
life
yeah,
to some extent, you know, because I guess for him, he was having real feelings. And you know what? Even though, like, in the back of my head, I'm like, could never be me. You know, I don't judge people that believe ridiculous things, because at the end of the day, if someone tells you something, there's no reason for me to think that you're lying because you told me this information out of nowhere. It's not like I've caught you in an awkward or compromising situation, and now you're like, oh, and you quickly tell a lie because you're trying to protect yourself. This is you just coming out of nowhere with these lies just for no reason. Like, you came and found me
yeah,
for no
yeah.
reason, just to go and lie and do all of this madness, and then just be like, in the documentary, I can't remember exactly what she said, but there was something that he spoke about, and when they were talking to her to kind of like verify whatever it is, she was kind of like, oh, yeah, but like, I can't believe he told people that, like, you know, keep it to yourself. I was thinking, excuse me,
Bitch, what?
like, this is literally a whole documentary about how you catfished and destroyed someone's life, but you want to be sitting here talking about what he can and can't say. Like, you're lucky that you're even getting a
Hey,
seat
she
and
has no
people
legs
are
to
asking
stand
you
on.
why, but you can't get a job. Good. But yeah, no, I just,
And
people like that just get on my nerves.
yeah, and what makes it worse is, I guess you wouldn't think she was lying because what she was saying, leukemia, the car crash, it's so extreme. You would like to think no sane person would lie about something like this. So that's why
Exactly.
those things, as wild as it seems to he's probably thinking, right, like looking back, okay, I should have seen that she was lying, but in the moment, you don't see that.
Oh, 100%. I've definitely been in situations where sometimes somebody tells you something, and the information is so like, it's so extreme that it's, even if in the back of your mind you're kind of like, it's too much of a thing to question someone, because it's like, on the off chance that this person's telling the truth, and I'm going to now question you about the death of a family member. Someone told me that their one of their family members died, and I sent my condolences, and they were like, what are you talking about, to their family, and their family was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, awkward. Needless to say, we don't speak anymore.
Yeah, I was about to say, because that's why, like, what did they
And out of nowhere, it wasn't
what did
like,
they want? What
it
was
was
their
okay.
reason
Oh,
for it? Like,
well, we was arguing a bit, so I'm sure there was some way of getting sympathy, but it very quickly just, it's
nah, you're
just
sick,
a bit
babes.
extreme.
Like, you're sick,
You
whoever you
know,
are.
exactly. There's no need, but people lie about so many things. I've just had, and the thing about it, what gets me more is when you believe the person's lie, and then later on they say something that completely contradicts, and you're like, hold on a minute, did you tell me? And then it's either, now they double down. Yeah, I'm like, so either you're lying now or you was lying then. But then I guess, you know what? These things have to happen to make people even realize that, raw, these things can happen. Because catfish, even though like I said, it couldn't be me, but catfish, all these kind of stories make you realize like there's
They're
actually
mad.
mad people out there who are just doing like these kind of things just to,
There
well,
are, but
waste
I
people's
think
time,
also
really.
you have to take some accountability and think, at what point do you verify that this person is real? You can't be talking for like 3 months and never seen the person.
That's
At some
what?
point, you have to meet up and have face to face
Yeah.
interaction, not even just a FaceTime thing unless it's long distance, like literally face to
But
face.
then you know what I think, yeah, like when I think about the ages that I was when like, well, we were when like BBM came in and all that kind of stuff, and I think about it just made me realize like how many conversations you had with people that you literally never met. I've got people on my Facebook that I'm like, I don't even know how I know this person. I might have seen them out like once or twice here and there, but I just don't like how is this person even my friend and stuff. And it's weird, like so accepting of things when you're younger, I think as well. I mean, again, not to this extreme. This is an extreme case, but yeah, I just think there's loads of people that I spoke to, I don't speak to anymore. There's that people that I never even met. We just having chit chats here and there, like the way that we just made ourselves vulnerable to complete strangers is actually
Yeah.
crazy.
But if I'm going to pursue something romantically with you, I need to see. I need to know who you are. I was just scrolling through Twitter and reading what people had to say about this documentary, and literally, they were like, "This level of catfishing is absolutely sickening." And how the media are bashing the victim is even more sickening.
I think it's because he's a guy though. Like I
Really?
genuinely think it's because he's a guy. Like he's not seen as a yeah. Like I know it seems a bit. I'm not saying that obviously like men can't be victims and or women are always victims, but I feel like I don't know. It, even though what Renaya did was completely creepy and like someone said sickening and absolutely disturbing, I feel like people are just looking at it like he's a sap
He's a
and
what?
that's it. Whereas I feel like if it was like basically just he's a waste
All
man,
right. What's the
like
word?
like
Sap.
literally just a sap, yeah, just wet,
Ah.
you know. 2020, well, it's not even a 2023 vocabulary, but yeah. Um, but I feel like if it was a woman, you know, and it was this, even if it was a woman and it was another woman, even like when there was that girl that I mean, this is extreme, who was like pretending to be a boy and like sleeping with girls with a strap on, which is another violation that I can't even get into right now. But I just feel like literally people are just like, oh, like, you know, you're a guy, like you could have slept with anyone, you could have got anyone, how could you fall for this, blah, 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 blah. Like girls are more the lovey-dovey type. Like girls falling in love with random imaginary people online is like almost, oh, bless you kind of thing. Still stupid, but literally that's what I feel like that's what it is. I mean, I know there's a certain amount of people that would still think you're an idiot regardless, but I just felt like the sympathy for him just was not there.
So many people touching his career. I saw another tweet, and the person was like, "Manti Te'o is the reason I started watching college football. He's the only defense to finish top two the Heisman Trophy in the past 13 years. So that's huge, and it's a shame that he'll only be known for catfishing."
I saw something actually today that was talking about. I mean, in this case, it's very much what Renaya did, but sometimes as well, this girl was talking about the principle of things. It's not just what you did, yeah. It's what is how those actions, you know, impacted me and what's the meaning behind those actions. Like it doesn't matter that um, he still managed to play football. Renaya didn't have control in. She didn't control anything that could have happened to him. Everything that happened was out of her control. So you went into this situation trying to ruin someone's life with no idea. He could have committed suicide. Like you have no idea what the outcome would have been, but you did it anyway. And that's the thing that I can't stand more because you just don't know what those kind of extremely horrible things are going to do to another person, but you did it anyway.
But the control thing's a good point. So I think when people feel like they're losing control, they try to attach more instead of letting a situation just flow naturally. So she felt she was losing him, so she just decided to grip on tighter.
Just leave. I just think there's billions of people in the world. Like it's not that deep. And okay, now you can come out and live your life as a trans woman and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure because I think didn't they say that
Yeah.
Renaya grew up in the church and things like that. So there was like, you know, I can maybe you felt suffocated, but that's not an excuse for ruining someone else's life. Or I don't say ruining him because he still got to play football. And he's, you know, but that's not the way that you've impacted his life is something you can't take that back.
He's a very good looking man though.
I mean,
Just I was.
he's not ugly. He's
He
not
is
ugly. I
fine. I was enjoying.
yes,
I
I'm
was
so
enjoying
sorry you got
looking at him
catfish,
visually.
but
Just throwing it out there.
are you single? I mean, no, he wasn't arguing anything. I never looked at him before. Well, I didn't have any opinion of him. I mean, he's already, nah. Anyway, cons. Oh, yeah, you know I love to stalk you on Letterboxd. So, on the 29th of April 2023, you watched Missing and said, the plot thickens. Other than the ending, I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
On the 30th of April, you watched Searching. Your review was the plot thickens. Other than the ending, I really enjoyed this. I just want to know why it's exactly the same review. And this is just me nitpicking. I just want to know two things. Well, many things. But firstly, which one did you actually prefer?
I watched Missing first. Didn't know it was. They're more or less connected. Yes.
I mean, I've seen both of them.
I didn't like the ending, but I thought the film was quite clever. But when I got to the ending of Missing, I thought, I didn't enjoy it. And that's the only reason I thought, like, is that it? Yeah, so that is it. And then the same with Searching. And I realised I gave them the same review, but that's just how I felt equally. Like, they both would have been 4 stars.
No, but it was like word for word. I was like, nah, I need to ask about this.
The ending. Because I think, like, they had some good ideas, and I was very much, I couldn't work a lot of things out, so it kept me engaged to that point. But it's just the ending that made me go from 4 stars down to 3.5.
Interesting. See, I watched Searching when it came out. I think I watched it in the cinema actually. And same, I wasn't a fan of the ending, but I did like the kind of twist where, you know, obviously you're just like, oh, so it's you. Missing, for me, I did not like it at all. I literally thought it was so rubbish. I was like, because when you find out who's basically doing it, I was like, so...
What did you rate it?
Definitely lower than Searching, but I don't think I even rated it. Wow. Like, I don't actually think I allowed Letterboxd to know that I even watched it. Because I watched it and I was just like... But if I was to rate it, I'd probably give it 2 stars, if I'm honest. Yeah, I really thought it was rubbish. Like, I'm not even going to lie. I was like... And I don't know if it's because I felt like Searching worked so much better and it was the same, you know, with the searching through the internet and using all the, you know, iPhone messages and stuff. But there was things that were just dumb. I mean, it was great to see Nia Long, you know, on the big screen again. So
she's about, but yeah, on the actual cinema screen as opposed to like TV screen. Yeah, I wonder if watching them the other way around would have changed your opinion.
Maybe. That's all for my Letterboxd pickings.
I see. Well, I went on yours, and had a right chuckle.
Oh.
A right chuckle because The Outlaws. It has 1 or 2 funny moments, but this isn't enough to justify its existence. 1.5 stars. I thought, wow, I've never seen anyone disrespect a film like that. Like,
no, don't disrespect me by making it. It's literally a bag of nonsense. It's sometimes, I don't know, like, have you seen it? Do you know? I think comedy is almost a golden genre because it is so difficult to do, but when it's done right, you know, and I think about my classics like Rush Hour, Friday, you know, when it's done right, it can be like, it's the kind of, you know, I think a good comedy is one that you can visit, you know, in 10, 15 years time and still have a good old laugh. This was like ridiculous. Like, it literally was stupid. I think that even though it is a comedy genre, like if you're gonna have a couple, because it's about basically a couple and their in-laws are, well, sorry, this guy is getting married to this woman and her parents are basically like bank robbers. That's hence why it's like Outlaws. I mean, obviously I think you've got to be very clever to write comedy for one, but I think sometimes naturally you have to get funny actors in it, and you know, I don't, because I think it's Pierce Brosnan that's in there. I don't know if he's funny. I don't know, but I do actually have no, I was going to say a Manti Te'o inspired story, but that's a bit cheeky. A catfish inspired story that I found on Reddit. So someone on Reddit asked, what's your worst catfishing story? And this person, Daft Cadet, I don't know, said 2.5 years ago, a match with a guy on Tinder, carried good conversation, but something was just off. He had no social media and some weird tendencies to brush off giving a lot of personal information. A lot of personal information. I don't know if I'm assuming the person means like there was multiple occasions. Anyway, let me just continue reading. After being unable to garner much information about him personally, I googled his phone number. Phone number led to a spreadsheet of community basketball players and their full names. He had given a different last name than what was on the newly updated spreadsheet. It turned out he utilized his mother's maiden name. Googled the full name, turned out to be on a sex offenders registry, was a school teacher in the western part of the state previously. I messaged him about it, and he gave me another name to Google. It was his brother's name. His brother murdered his other brother, and all in all, he turned out to hail from a merry band of psychos. That situation got very ugly before it completely came to a halt. Now I Google everyone, look them up on social media, and look them up on a court system. I'm just going to add that the age he told me he was, in fact, was his correct age, but he later went on some episode where he messaged me and told me he had changed his age from 31 to 23 on Tinder. A friend and I found his profile, and indeed he had. He even changed his photos and profile format wording to reflect a 23-year-old. He was special, that's for sure.
Okay, so the fact that he is a flipping sex offender and a teacher is absolutely terrifying. And the brother murdering the other brother is a madness. Like, this woman had a lucky... Actually, I don't know their gender.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, this person had a lucky escape and shouldn't be back on Tinder. Because they literally much ended it with, like, now I search this. Don't... That's a sign from God. They escaped a family of mass murderers, because that's some madness.
I think they definitely, dodged a bullet. But I also thought if somebody's not willing to give you information about themselves, that doesn't necessarily give you the right to Google it. Just decide that this person doesn't want to share things with me. This obviously isn't the person for me, because things like that flow easily. Because even though I thought, you know what? It's crazy that you found out all this information, but imagine you didn't. I feel like it's... I know, let's be honest, we all use social media to search people. Like, when you're dating someone, you want to find out a little bit more about them. But I did think to myself, I don't know, but maybe in the era of catfishing, all this reverse Google search images and stuff like that, it's probably like normal to us now. But I do think, to some extent, it's being safe, but it's also invading privacy. It's a very fine line. And I don't know if somebody, like I said, if someone's not willing to give you information, maybe you just shouldn't. And I also don't get, one, after finding out he was on a sex offenders registry, why they messaged him to do what? Hey, I found you on a sex offender. Like, why? Because I don't get that. And I also don't get why the response from him was to be like, hey, here's my brother's name. He murdered my brother. I literally, I feel like there's probably some middle bit missing here, because I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would he give you his brother's name? Why did you message him after finding out he's on a sex offenders register? Just block him. And also, I'm just, obviously, maybe I'm putting 2 and 2 together and getting 7, but obviously, like you said, teacher, sex offender.
I think if you've got to go to extreme lengths to search someone, then you shouldn't be talking to them.
Amen.
Why are you doing all that? Like, this is why you need to meet up soon, but
not that soon.
You're not meeting someone that's on a sex offenders list, but
public place.
Yeah.
With CCTV.
But doing all those other things is a telltale sign. Because I can't imagine reverse Google image searching someone, trying to find that number. Like, why are you doing all that?
If I'm getting weird vibes about you, I'm probably just gonna not respond. Like, I had it once where, actually, I'm not gonna lie, I think it was like Plenty of Fish or something, and the barfest girl literally messaged me, but immediately, like, her energy was off. And I hate to say that, her energy was off, but literally, she just came at me with such aggression. I was like, because I remember she was just like, oh, hey, how are you, kind of thing. And obviously I was like, hi, kind of thing. And then she was like, give me your number. And I was like, yeah, no. I was like, I don't even know your name. She's like, yeah, but we'll get to know each other, like, when you give me your number. I was like, no, that's not how it works. Like, we're supposed to talk, vibe off of each other, and then maybe decide if we want to exchange digits, because I feel like I'm going to have to block you in a week with the way she was coming at me. And then she got really aggressive. She's like, why won't you give me your fucking number? I was like, Yeah, this is probably
Yeah,
a catfish. It's
bye.
so weird. But I was just like, block. But yeah, so I guess the internet is a scary place, you know.
It is, isn't it?
Like you meet,
Quite a common place now to meet people.
you know what? It's funny because it is, but I don't know if we're all just like running away from the internet now. But a lot of people are meeting people like now at work through work friends.
That's good.
It,
Human interaction.
people can like we said before, people can lie regardless. But I do think there has to be, you know, because I still think even though all social media you can meet someone, I still think it's weird when people are like, oh yeah, I met off Instagram. I just slid in his DMs or whatever. And I'm like, that's crazy to me.
When it works out and they have their story about how they were together, like married 5, 10 years later, I think it's quite cute. And obviously that's how you
Yeah,
start
yeah,
to meet the
yeah.
person. But
But
yeah,
the skeptic in
I
me is
mean,
like,
you meet someone how you meet someone.
it's
But
true.
yeah,
Like,
I do find their stories
because
quite
yeah,
cute.
like you said, it's true. If it works, like Tinder's got such a bad rep for being like a sex app, which I think is hilarious because people blatantly meet people on Instagram, Facebook, and all of that, and still sleep with them. So I don't know why people make out like. I mean, I know Tinder's kind of. I know why it's got that reputation, but you got any catfishing stories?
So I have met up with someone. So on, I can't remember what app it was. It was ages ago, and they, I would say they like heavily photoshopped and filtered their picture. So when we now met up in person, whilst it was the person,
Oh my God! Stop talking. I know exactly who you're talking about.
I mean, whilst it was the person, that you kind of you lied.
No, do you know what? Yeah, I am all for people being who they want to be, but actually remembering all the filters and stuff like that people in general use, and thinking about the people that I've seen afters and thought. So yeah, no, I remember now. This person, the filter.
Yeah, the filter was really filtering.
I actually remember you sent me the picture. Now I think it was that stayed in my brain for so long. So I was in such shock. I was like, "Ain't no way this is the same person. Ain't no way." That see, that's a different level of catfish.
I've also been accused of being a catfish, which I find funny because I think, why are you talking to me if you think I'm a catfish?
Yeah, oh,
Because
I bet you're a catfish because.
I'm not on social media like that. I'm not about to just give you my social media. I'll rather give you my number than my social media.
See, I'm the opposite. I don't want you to call me or text me. Like I will eventually, but I just rather. So I don't know. It makes no sense, yeah. But I feel like my number is personal because if you start stressing me out, yeah. I mean, you know how I used to change my number back in the day. If you stress me out too much, I'm like T-Mobile. Well, it's EE now. I'm being stalked. This person's harassing me. Change my number. So now I'm like, I want to keep this number.
I love you, my number. But I'm not out here giving everyone my number. But because I don't have many pictures on my social media, or because I'm not about to give you my social media or even ask for your social media straight away, I've been accused of being a catfish, which I think's funny because I'm like, man, if I'm gonna be a catfish, then I mean, I'm
Don't
not
have
saying my
me.
pictures aren't cute, but you know, I might pick like some supermodel or something.
Well, yeah, woo. No, I hear that. It's funny though, like, but you know what's crazy actually? You'll be surprised because I actually remember. So I literally have a friend. We have the same name, like same birth name,
All right,
and this is like way back in the day. This has got to be like high five times. Like, do you remember that
that's
little?
really taking it back.
Exactly. So someone had put all my information, but there's like we spell our names differently, but all my information, but her picture. But I knew like her actual real profile, so I was like, not to be weird, but like this person's using your pictures basically, all my profile. And I said, like all my information, I was like including my name, but like obviously your pictures and stuff. So I don't know. It was weird because we didn't know each other, we didn't have mutual friends. It didn't make any sense why two people had found our information and put it together. It
Yeah,
was
that's
actually really weird. Like, this was like 15 years ago probably. But anyway, so obviously she's like, no, that's my name, and I'm like, no, like that's literally my name. We're going back and forth before we realized we had the same name, and we literally it was so random, but we became friends. So sometimes catfish can work out
bring two people together in different
unexpectedly.
ways.
Yeah, but it was very strange. I felt very uneasy about that. So I just thought, what? Who could that be? Like, it was really, really weird because the only logical thing was like one of us, which it obviously wasn't. But I was like, who knows my birthday and knows that me and this girl have the same name? Like, I didn't understand. So
Don't lie, don't stalk, don't catfish, don't do any of that. Just be genuine, and hopefully you'll meet a genuine person in return. And that brings me to the end of this episode of Untold, the Girlfriend Didn't Exist. We are TV Film and Us. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at TV Film and Us. And we'll be back real soon with another episode. But until then, goodbye.
Deuces.